So now let's put that split ring on. Okay. I like to put my split on the opposite side of the tire from the valve stem. You don't necessarily have to do it. Personally, I think it's a good idea. So, just sit in there, and then we'll start, and just go around the rim. Part of it started in, and just walk the rim. Keep tapping it with my foot. It's that simple. There, your ring's in. Okay. Your ring's in. Now, bring it a little closer here. Let's take a look at this, because this is one of the things you want to do to make sure that your ring is all the way in there, so that when you do apply air to it, it doesn't pop up, and that's where you have your accidents. So this ring is under this lip all the way around. I had one earlier that wasn't quite seated in there all the way, and would have been nice to be able to show you that, but they do go in pretty easy, like that, when they're cleaned up and all that good stuff. But you can see there isn't a gap in between here, and this is pretty much seated. Technically, I'd say it's not completely seated until you seat the tire to the rim, kind of, and it pushes up on it. But you can see that it's in the groove. You can see it's not kicked out of the groove anywhere. That's important. Now, when that valve stem over here, this valve stem over here, you'll notice that the valve is still in there, that we didn't open it up, and that's kind of a safety feature that you can do. You know, I'm not using a cage, and I'm not even using, straps going through here to put, like a 4-inch strap or something between here, or chain the tire or whatever, so that if it grenaded for some reason, which it should not, because I've inspected everything, so I'm not worried about that. It's when you don't check that stuff out that you have to worry about that. So anyways, the valve itself is still in there because you're inflating a tube. You don't need to inflate it super fast, so that would help to avoid that whole thing where slam, it comes up, and then if it were to pop over, which it's not, it's seated in the rim itself already. And you can tell that by looking at it and by feel that it is. That's just something you have to check. And so I'll put you back on your pedestal, and we'll put air in it. I will tell you that it won't be, that exciting. No, you just simply put air in it. It doesn't happen fast, which is part of the advantage to leaving the stem in. And it's not like a conventional tire where you've got to force a bunch of air in there, and the bead has to pop up onto the bottom of the rim to seal. Because there's a tube in there, that's not how these have to work. You can do that, and it works fine, but it's just a little, if you're concerned about that, it's a little bit safer with the valve in, and with this style inflator, it actually works better with the stem in it. So, but anyways, I don't know. Just that wasn't thinking. All right. So we're going to go over here, and we're going to inflate this. And, then on there, down. And oh, I'm going to take my stem. There, that's what I wanted. Now my stem is pulled all the way up to where it needs to be. Much better. So, down there, lock your valve. Now, okay, as you bring it up, I'm not really worried about it, but one of the things you can do to make it safer is, you know, don't put your body anywhere physically over this, you know, don't put your hand over there while you're inflating it. Anyways, here it is, and you notice that you're not really seeing anything. You might not even be able to hear. Of course, I'm babbling, so you can't hear anyway. The air going into it. And that tire is slowly moving up towards that rim there. Okay. I know, put my hand in there. It's dangerous. But it's slowly moving up, and it's not going to just suddenly pop up like sealing your bead on a conventional, what I would consider a conventional tire does, because I do have the valve stem still in there. It's just going to keep building a little bit of pressure in the tube, and it'll start to raise up. I don't know if you can see it, it's raising up. And when you're doing these, you know, you're slowly bringing it up. When you're doing them, I recommend bringing it up to full pressure, the full pressure of the tire, to make sure that you're fully seating that, and then bring it down to the level that you want. These will take up to 80 psi, this particular model. So I'm going to bring it up to 80 psi, and probably at a later point, we're going to reduce that back down to what I want. So anyway, just fill air. Again, I'll say about the tire cage. I am not saying it's a bad idea. No, it's a good idea, and properly used. But you don't absolutely need it. You are taking some risk by not using one. But personally, I don't think there's much of a risk when you've done all your homework and made sure the rim is in good shape and everything else, and filling it by this method of still having the valve in there. We're at about 30 psi right now. Most likely by the time you hit 40 psi, that will be fully up against the bottom of the ring. And but like I said, I like to bring them up to full pressure, and then yeah, we're at 40 now, so that's probably pretty much seated. Let's just stop for a minute, just to show you. Let's just take a look around this rim. You know, you don't see any gaps or anything between here and here. Again, I'm putting my fingers in here as my own risk. I don't think it's really a risk, but you know, at this point. But yeah, so you don't see any irregular gaps or anything like that. That's where you have the issue, is where if you didn't get that ring properly seated in that groove before you apply the air, that's where you can make it like a trigger, and then because it's cocked off, and then finally when the pressure builds up, and then all of a sudden that little bit lets go, then that's when the freaking ring could come flying off. And also, if your ring wasn't in good shape and was deteriorated that bad, you know, cracked or, you know, rusted that bad. But anyway, they're pretty simple to put them on. You know, again, boots are real. You really kind of should be wearing them. I'm not. That's my own thing. But as you can see, putting that ring on is pretty easy to pop it on there and get it seated, and it's easy to tell that it's seated. So that's pretty much it. I'll finish putting the air in this up to 80 psi, because like I said, that's its max pressure set, and then I'll probably reduce them down at some point here, although you know, on the rears on the truck I may not end up running much below that amount, depending on how things are, because I'll be carrying loads in there. The other way you can do it, if you're really concerned, is that you could fill this remotely and have a line that puts you away from it, and have it preset to the total amount of pressure that you want, and that keeps you away from the tire itself. You know, if you are concerned about the tire or the grenading. But the key factors is take your time making sure that the ring is seated properly, and that the ring, tire, and rim are in good shape. If you've got a, you know, deteriorated tire, weather cracking and such, you know, and all that's one of the things that starts to put you in a bad position, as far as I'm concerned. And obviously if the ring's too rusty, or not seated properly, that'll do it to you too. But if you're paying attention, any kind of risk is greatly reduced.